Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Ellechat on getting started with Adobe Illustrator. I am so glad you're tuning in today, and I would love to know where you are tuning in from. So if you haven't already, just drop me a note in the comments section and let me know where you're tuning in from. We have people from Alabama, the UK, Washington, Norway. So it's really fun that you all can tune in all over the world, or from all over the world. So I'm happy to have you here. I'd also love to know if you can see me and hear me okay before I continue. So if you could drop me a comment in the comment section, that would be awesome. In the meantime, as well, feel free to ask questions and leave comments in the questions section below. That's what it's there for. So if you have questions as I'm talking about Illustrator or showing you behind my Adobe Illustrator Basics course, and later on when I bring on my friend Brianne, who took the course a couple years ago, and then she was just a student, now she has become a friend. She's going to join in and tell us about her experience, and you're free to ask her questions. I'm doing this webinar not only to show you around Adobe Illustrator, but to answer your questions, because the funny thing about online courses is that you don't always know what you're buying until you've bought it. And so I wanted to be completely transparent with you. I wanted you to feel completely confident when you purchase the course about what you're getting and what you're getting yourself into. Can you all see me and hear me okay? I know might even try refreshing this window really quick, just in case. Awesome. Okay, sweet. Thank you for letting me know. Just wanted to be sure. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm so glad that you all are here. So yes, feel free to leave me questions as I go along, but I'm just going to start off by telling you how I got started with Illustrator. I asked a lot of you what your confidence level is using Adobe Illustrator. Some of you have zero confidence. I know, Shayna, you rated yourself at a 7, which is awesome. And so you might be just getting started. Shayna, you aren't, but those of you who said zero confidence might just be getting started, and that's why you're here. When I first started using Illustrator, I was a freshman in college pursuing graphic design, and I had absolutely no idea how I was going to get my sketches and my artwork on the computer. I thought it would be something as simple as drawing on my keypad or using a Wacom tablet or something like that. So when I opened Adobe Illustrator for the first time, I thought, I had two thoughts. One, this looks like Paint, the Paint program from Windows, so I've got this. And then two, what in the world am I doing? This doesn't make sense. And it wasn't long before I started getting the hang of it and came to use it all the time. We did learn Photoshop, we learned InDesign, but Illustrator is what I return to time and time again. I found it the easiest to use, but I also found it to be the most versatile program out of the three. They each function very differently. But then as I started my freelance work and I was doing brands and websites, I found myself constantly returning to Illustrator. And so then I started Ellen Company 3 years ago, and as I was creating graphics for client work, I found that I was in the program way more for my design or for my own business. I was doing blog graphics, I was doing PDFs, social media graphics, icons for my website, infographics, all sorts of things, and I found myself in Adobe Illustrator every single day. And I found myself at a great advantage because a lot of other creative business owners didn't know how to use Adobe Illustrator. And as I continued to go along and people asked me how I created my graphics, I saw that there was a need in this industry, that people were relying on tools like Canva, which are great when you're first getting started, but what happens is you use templates that everyone else is using too, and it's hard to make your brand really distinct from the other brands out there. It's hard to customize it the way you want it to be customized, and it's hard because you can't always depend on that one free tool. So the great thing with Illustrator is anytime a design need pops up, which is often, you can simply open the program and get it done in a matter of minutes, especially if you use the same graphics over and over and just need to change colors, and you're good to go. You don't have to hire a designer each time. You don't have to rely on templates. You don't have to hunt down tutorials to to learn how to use it. You already know how to use it. You just go in there and get it done. And to show you an example of that, I'm going to share my screen, just a few of the things that I use Illustrator for on a regular basis. Bear with me, you might get tunnel vision for just a second. All right, and I'm going to make this larger so you can truly see it. All right, so here is an example of how I use Illustrator for blog graphics. So this is the Adobe Illustrator window. This is a behind-the-scenes look. And for those of you who've used Paint, some of these tools might be familiar. Some of you might think this window is totally overwhelming, and in the course, I try to cut back on the overwhelm. Once you know what you're doing, it really is quite simple. We have a couple toolbars here. I have a couple different files open. But you can see that I have tons of blog graphics, just templates set up so that every time I have a blog post, I can just come in here, change the wording really quickly, and I'm good to go. So I have all my colors all set up, and it takes me, I was actually doing this right before I jumped on this webinar. It took me maybe 3 minutes to create a new blog graphic. It was actually this one, and I was good to go. But not only for blog graphics, I've also used it for things like this content upgrade workbook that's coming to my site really soon. So it's great for multi-page documents. These blog posts were created for web, and this is a PDF. This can be printed, this can be viewed online. You can see all pages here, easily created using Illustrator. So you can use it for content upgrades for your site, checklists, workbooks, all sorts of things. And then also to customize your site. I use Squarespace, so a lot of people ask, how can I customize my site? And a lot of times it's through fun graphics. So you can see all the graphics on my site, all the main ones when I updated it last year, were all created right in this program and saved right from this one program. Really handy for keeping all my colors consistent. And another fun fact, all of these icons, you don't have to have drawing experience to create good icons. You can use shape tools in here. That's how I actually created this briefcase. As long as you know how to type and drag and drop, you can create great graphics using Illustrator. I also do it for my library promo graphics for Twitter. So any advertisements or promos, I easily create them using Illustrator. And not only did I create the promos, but I was able to create all of these printables in additions to the Ellen Company library, things like desktop calendars, workbooks, worksheets, desktop wallpapers. So all of these were created in Adobe Illustrator. So that's just a few of the ways that I use this tool on a regular basis. And I found myself continually, oops, let me share my screen again. Videos turn off, there I am. I found myself continually using this program. And so when I realized that other people were struggling in their business, I decided to start the Adobe Illustrator course. And this week I launched it for the 5th time, which is crazy. It's gone by really fast. And out of all of the things I've ever offered, I've offered a few different courses and done some online workshops and that sort of thing. This one course has proved to be the most beneficial and the thing that people get really excited about and learn a lot from. So I love this course. It's really fun. So I wanted to take you also through some purchasing options for Adobe Illustrator. If you're just now getting started with the program, where do you start? And if you were to purchase the course, I know one of you asked in the questions I was peeking, one of you asked, do you have to purchase Adobe Illustrator? So what are the purchasing options? And what I suggest doing, I'm going to share my screen with you again. What I suggest doing is going to, let's pull it up, creative.adobe.com to see Adobe Creative Cloud. And I can actually drop this right in the webinar window, so bear with me with tunnel vision. All right, let's get back to that page. There's a couple different options. So I would suggest the single app option. If you are just getting started with Adobe and you aren't using Photoshop or InDesign quite yet, you might start here and just choose Illustrator under the single app, and it's $19.99 a month. If you happen to be a student, or in my case, I'm married to a student, you can get a student discount on Adobe apps as well. I purchase under the individual plan. A lot of you are solopreneurs, but for those of you who have want to be on a business plan, you can add more than one person to your plan so that they can have access to Adobe Illustrator as well, but it is more expensive, so that's something to keep in mind. But I would suggest signing up under an individual plan. And again, if you are a student, be sure to use that student discount. $19.99 per month, and what this means is that you are joining on to Creative Cloud. So Adobe Creative Cloud is a subscription service. That's why it's $19.99 a month. But you are constantly have access to the latest version of Adobe Illustrator. So anything that changes, you have access to it. Another great thing is that you have access to Typekit too. So a ton of really awesome fonts. If I open up Adobe and go to Type and add fonts from Typekit, bear with me for just a second as it pulls it up. Hopefully, maybe it's going to be slow. But you can add fonts from Typekit, and they have a ton of really, really awesome fonts. So that is a really great option. If you have any questions about this, feel free to leave them in the questions section. I'm not affiliated with Adobe in any way, so I love Adobe Illustrator. I would become an affiliate if I could, but this is just for your benefit. This is how you can get started with it. So feel free to ask questions there, and I'll answer as many as I can at the end of the webinar. But on to the Adobe Illustrator Basics course. What I've found is that people who try to piece together YouTube tutorials for learning Illustrator, or they open it up and try to teach themselves, often really struggle figuring it out. They don't even know what to search for or how to get started. So it's often piecemeal, and that's why I started this course. So I walk you through in 5 modules with an extra bonus module this go around. I walk you through exactly how to use Adobe Illustrator, but not how, this is a disclaimer, I don't teach you how to do everything in Adobe Illustrator because that would be completely overwhelming. It has so many functions. Instead, I just show you the basic tools that you will need for your business. So for a creative business, and also if you are doing things like logos and that sort of thing for your clients, or if you want to digitize type, maybe you're a calligrapher, that sort of thing, you will walk away knowing exactly how to do that after this course. So I just wanted to give you more insight onto what the course looks like and what it's included in the course. Of course, this is the sign-up page, but this is the back end. I just switched over to Teachable this time, which I'm really excited about. And so this is what the back end of Adobe Illustrator Basics looks like. Here is the course introduction. So there's a course workbook that if you click on it, it will load here. So this is full of references for the tool panel. Maybe I can even go back, see if y'all are still with me for a second, make this a little bit bigger. All right, there we go. Ooh, tunnel vision, I apologize. But here is a tool panel reference for each tool and some shortcuts, panel shortcuts, note spaces, cheat sheets, and that sort of thing. So that's all here in the course workbook. This go around, I also have a course community through a Facebook group. And so this has been great. People who have been signing up this week have all been introducing themselves, telling us why they want to learn Illustrator. So it's great for getting to know other people in the course, but it's also super helpful when you have questions, or if you want feedback on your designs, or if one of the tools is being wonky and you just can't figure out what you're doing wrong, you can leave it in the Facebook community and help each other out. And I pop in from time to time and help out there as well. So that's another really fun resource of the course. There's 5 modules to the course. And the first is navigating the workspace. So here is just a little information. But I dropped these modules, all 6. There's a bonus module in here. These lessons, or these video lessons for each module, are available every Monday throughout the course. So Monday before noon, I drop the video here, and you can follow along at your own pace. I try to make it so that you can follow along in 5 weeks. So each module is dropped every Monday throughout the 5 weeks. But for those of you who might be working full-time and doing this on the side, I give you lifetime access to all the modules so that you can work through it at your own pace. So maybe you can't stick to the 5-week schedule, and that is totally fine. But maybe you work through it 5 months, 1 module a month, or maybe you do it during spring break and you sit down and work on how to use Adobe Illustrator. Each module is about an hour long, so it's helpful for you to watch it and follow along with Adobe Illustrator pulled up on your screen and work along with me. I also provide practice files as well, so that really comes in handy. So each one of those is dropped on the Mondays throughout the course. And then I have 3 live Q&A webinars, because while these video lessons are really helpful whenever you're learning something new, learning a new program, it's super helpful to be able to ask questions. I love online courses because you can access them from anywhere in the world, but one of the really hard things is that you don't have the one-on-one with an instructor. So this gives you some time to have a one-on-one with me, with other students in the class too, where you can ask questions and I will answer them. So here is each of those webinars. They're set up just like this one through Crowdcast. This is actually the intro webinar that's going to take place on March 18th. So you can, I'm going to show you around the course, the ins and outs of it, and you can meet others in the course. I have 1 mid-course and 1 follow-up webinar. And I actually have a little calendar to show you all of the dates. So each Monday, March 20th through actually the 24th is when those new modules will drop. And then here are the live webinars. All those webinars are also going to be recorded so that you can catch them later if you can't tune in live. Another fun note, I made these calendars using Adobe Illustrator as well. I told you I use it all the time. So that's the ins and outs of the course page, but also a few other facts about this course. You have a warranty as well. So if you purchase the course and you aren't happy after 2 weeks, or maybe you feel like you know all of this already, I will give you a refund, no questions asked. So I really want it to benefit you. I want you to get a lot out of this course. Nancy asks, I have Illustrator 5. Will I be able to follow along with the course? Absolutely. If you have Illustrator, I even had Illustrator CS3 in college, and a lot of the functions were the same. So if you've already purchased a version of Adobe Illustrator, you will be fine, Nancy. And Juliet, you asked if you'll be able to create concept boards and add perspective to rooms. You can definitely do that, especially the concept boards in Illustrator. Perspective and 3D won't be covered in the course, but you can definitely do that in Illustrator as well. And I'd be happy to do a one-on-one with you quickly and show you how to do that in Illustrator too. I've been asked to do an advanced course that might take place in there, but that's a great question. I'll answer a few more before I bring Brianne on to talk about her experience with the course as well, because as much as I hope it's helpful for you to hear some background information about the course from me, I thought it would be really helpful for you to hear it from a student's perspective. So I'm going to bring her on in just a little while, but I'll answer a few of these questions really quickly from the questions section. Evelyn says, do I need to purchase my own copy of Adobe Illustrator to use during the course? Yes, and I would recommend doing Adobe Illustrator CC, the version I mentioned earlier, where it's $19.99 a month for an individual single app without Photoshop or InDesign. So yes, you will, but it is worth every single penny. So good question. Ray says, I know absolutely nothing about graphic design. I'm planning on starting a fashion blog on Squarespace and will need a logo and other graphics. Would Adobe Illustrator benefit someone like me? Yes, and Francisca commented on this and said it definitely will. Illustrator is perfect for logo design. Yes, Illustrator is perfect for logo design. And the reason that Illustrator is perfect for logo design, and the reason that Illustrator trumps Photoshop in this area, and in a lot of areas, I'm a little biased, but the difference is that Illustrator creates vector graphics. So I'm going to share my screen to explain this in a little bit more detail. Sorry to keep going back and forth on you guys, but I think this will be really helpful. So Illustrator, let me pull up my own logo here. Illustrator creates vector graphics, which means that they're created using logarithms or algorithms. I always get those messed up. But if you zoom in on my logo, you can see that these lines are crisp and clear no matter how far I zoom in. So that means that if I were to put my logo on a billboard, I could save it for a really big size and it would show up crisp and clear. So that's a vector graphic. They're smooth and they can be sized extremely well. I'll go back to my blog post graphics to show you that photos, any type of photo, looks crisp and clear at the outset if it's sized correctly. But as I zoom in on a photo, it starts to get really grainy. And you can start to see the pixels. That's why some things are described as looking pixelated. So raster images, as opposed to vector images, are made up of boxes of color. So if I were to take this same image and blow it up on a billboard, it would look really distorted and really blurry. You'd be able to see all these pixels of color really clearly. So Illustrator is great because all of the graphics that you create, if they aren't photos, you can import photos to Illustrator and use them in your designs. But for things like logos, you have to vectorize them or digitize them so that they can be sized and so that they show up clearly. And that's why I love using Adobe Illustrator. Photoshop only deals with raster images. It doesn't deal with vector images. So it only works with images that have pixels. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I'm making sense there. But yes, so that's the main difference between Photoshop and Illustrator, is that vector graphics as opposed to raster graphics. So with that being said, yes, it's perfect for logo design, but you don't need to learn how to draw. You don't have to be an illustrator to use Adobe Illustrator. In fact, a lot of people who are great in Adobe Illustrator can't really even draw a stick figure. I haven't drawn in forever on paper, which is terrible. I sketch occasionally, but you don't have to, if you use the tools in Adobe Illustrator, like shape tools, like the pen tool, brushes, all that sort of thing, you don't have to be able to draw. If you can type out text and you can use the shape tool by dragging and dropping, you can totally use Adobe Illustrator. I'm also providing a lot of templates for you in the course for things like inspiration boards and blog post graphics and that sort of thing. So you'll be totally fine and good to go, Ray. Also, there's something else I was going to say and it left me. I was excited about it too. Maybe I'll think about it in just a few minutes. But yes, you can totally use Adobe Illustrator, and I'm excited to show you how. And Brianne, who's about to join in, said, "That's me. I can't illustrate in real life at all." That's the beauty of Adobe Illustrator. You don't have to be able to be a really good illustrator drawing by hand. All right. Sana says, "Do you know if Typekit fonts are free to use?" They are if you have an Adobe Creative Cloud subscription. I think Samuel said that too. So if you subscribe to Adobe Illustrator and you have that single app, you can you have access to all those Typekit fonts, which is a huge bonus. They have some great ones on there. And Marissa says, "How do you know / keep up with the different sizes that artboards can be for different projects? For example, the size of a blog post image versus the size of those little calendars." So you can set those sizes in Adobe Illustrator. When you create a new document, you can go in and say exactly what dimensions you want your artboard to be, what size you want that image to be. So if I were doing something like a blog post graphic and I knew I wanted it to be 500 pixels by 700 pixels or 600 by 800, I could go in and choose pixels and type in 600, 800. It's really simple. So yes, you can, and how do you know what file sizes are? Sometimes I experiment with them, with dimensions. Sometimes for social media, I have to look them up. I actually did a blog post on that. And sometimes you just learn as you go. The great thing is that you can resize in Adobe Illustrator, and that's really helpful too. Good question. If you all have any other questions, feel free to leave them in that section. And Nancy asks, can you take a raster image and make it a vector image in Illustrator? Yes, you can. And actually, one of the modules in the course goes in detail about that. So say you have hand lettering and you've sketched it out and you want, or maybe you have a sketch of an icon or something like that, or maybe for your logo. You can scan it or take a picture of it, pull it into Illustrator, and you have a couple options. You can use image trace, so at the click of a button, it'll vectorize it and turn it into a vector image, or you can use the pen tool and trace over that type. But yes, that's one of the beauties of Adobe Illustrator, is you can take that raster image and make it a vector image. It's a great question. All right. I'm going to go ahead and invite Brianne on to talk to you about her experience and tell us a little bit about her story using Adobe Illustrator too, because I know I can be a little biased because I'm a graphic designer, and you might be thinking, yeah, sure, it's easy for Lauren to use because she went to college for this and she's been doing this for 9 years. And while that is true, Brianne didn't go to design school, and she's using Adobe Illustrator. Hey there. Thanks for joining me.
Yay. Hi, everybody.
Your office looks pretty, and I like your mic, too.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very fancy.
I like it. Well, thank you for joining me, and I thought it would be just really fun to bring you on today to share about your experience with Illustrator, because it does look different than mine. So tell me, first of all, how you got started with your business, because your business came before you learned Adobe Illustrator. So
yeah,
tell me how you started.
Well, this was really cool when I was I'm still a fairly new business, but like about 3 years ago-ish, I finally came up with, the idea that like I could finally go, and like do my own thing and have my own business, which before that seemed impossible. So I was working my day job that was sucking the life out of me. And, it was just one of those moments where it was like, I can do this. And so I just started to try and figure out how to do it, how to go about it. And Lauren knows this already, but her blog was one of the first things that I went to and like discovered to be able to like actually get started. But during that, I discovered too that I'm also a brand designer, and a photographer. That's what it came first. I did photography for like 6 years, only just part-time because I didn't think I could do it full-time. And I've incorporated those two things now to be like a complete branding, I want to say company. But it was just, I don't know, it was just really cool because I discovered her blog, started to just do this stuff. I knew InDesign, I knew Photoshop, but I did not know Illustrator at all. I had used Publisher. I mean, like, come on. And then I finally saw this course. Oh, I think I can't hear you when you talk. Maybe I need to.
You are fine. I said you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. And then I saw that you were doing Illustrator, and I think it was one of the very first classes that you offered. I don't remember if I was in the first group or the second group.
I think you were in there, but I could be wrong.
I know. I'm like, was one in there? But I really thought that I couldn't use Illustrator because I'm not an illustrator. So like what you were just talking about is so me. I am stick figures all the way, and even those are bad. Like, just being honest. Illustrator. And yeah, so after I took the Illustrator course, I was still kind of trying to go actually full time, and I hadn't really been able to yet because it was still kind of a struggle for me to be creating in a timely manner, basically between InDesign and Photoshop. And then after taking Illustrator, I swear, you guys, and I'm not kidding, it cut my time in half. it was the easiest program for me to understand. And of course, Lauren really explains it well, but that's why I'm like a huge advocate here. But it's like, I finally was able to go, full time with my own business and quit my day job. And it was right after I took the Illustrator course with Lauren. So just like 3 months later, it was like boom, boom, boom. So anyway, for me, it's like really exciting because I felt like it was the momentum I needed to kind of take my business to the next level.
That's awesome. Makes me happy to hear that. So now that you've used Photoshop, InDesign, and Illustrator, what would you say makes Illustrator different?
It's definitely the ease of use, for sure. When you know, like if you're an Adobe girl, kind of like me, like some of the other programs. So when you go in and see the menu, it's not like crazy. You kind of know how to kind of go about it. But I loved the ease of use. But then most importantly, it's kind of what you were just talking about. Everything's vector-based. So as I'm producing things, or graphics, all of a sudden it becomes so much easier to use them because they're all vector-based instead of, rastering, right? Like, but I was doing before with Photoshop. But yeah, I found it to be something that really simplified my life. And my favorite thing is even when you just pulled up all of your blog posts, like that's one of the things that you show, kind of in your course. And I do that now. Like I have these templates that are just ready to go. And it takes me like 3 minutes to make my new, blog post graphic. And it's such a time saver.
It is. I take for granted how easy it is and how often I'm in the program and just, I need to create, like today, I need to create a new blog post graphic, or I need to create a new Ellechat graphic, and I just pull it up and I'm good to go. Fix the type, fix the colors, add a photo, I'm good.
And I'm in it daily. One of the coolest things too, if you go through the Adobe Creative Cloud program, so like the monthly, is that you can save your brand colors, and things like that in there too, and like easily pull them up. And the type kit's amazing to be able to like go in and get new fonts, which I love. But yeah, that part's also like a slam dunk.
Yeah, for real. When you said that you are in Adobe Illustrator like on a daily basis, and I'm sure a lot for client work now too that you're doing branding, but what do you use it the most for your own business?
So for my own business, it's definitely blog posts and like the graphic, basically for that. And anything that I like to put on my website to make, I want to say, unique to me, or like little graphics or something that I want to use there. Anything, honestly, that would be a graphic. Gosh, that's so, but like for real, like anything I would put online, anything I would use in social media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about, so Juliet asked in the comments, she said, what if you don't use any Adobe products and have never before seen any of the tools and the menus? So what would you say about that in learning how to use Adobe Illustrator? I know you did know it, but what would...
I would say learn from Lauren. Okay, but for real, there's something about it, if you guys have followed along with Lauren, that she does like really break stuff down for you. And my favorite part about this course in particular was that you made it easy to understand. It was that thing where like, even if you didn't know how to go in and use it, that you break it down and make it easy. So if you're a newbie, like if you're brand new to this and you're like, I really don't even know where to begin, Lauren really does match you there. You don't have to know Adobe already to have that. To be totally honest, because I already knew Adobe, some of it, I even kind of would skip over just slightly, not a ton, sorry, Lauren, but because I did already know. But that's the idea here, is that she does meet you where you're at with that. And even if you do know Adobe, to kind of talk to that too, there's still a ton to learn. So there's really, you cover the gambit of it for sure. But if you don't know Adobe yet, don't be afraid, because it's still super simple. And Lauren definitely breaks it down in a very, I want to say, easy to digest way.
Thank you. That's good to hear. I tried when I was coming out with the curriculum for the course and structuring it to try to build it. So start here, and then once you know this tool, you can move on to this, and then move on to this. And there are some big differences, even though tools might look similar between Photoshop and Illustrator. that can be the trickiest part for Adobe users who have used other programs because they're not exactly the same.
Yeah, and I did that. I tried to like do some things I used to do in Photoshop, and I was like, "Whoa, that doesn't work."
Yeah.
So that was helpful.
Yeah, for real. What would you say? What would you say are the biggest benefits of the course for you? Why did you decide to choose the course in the first place?
The biggest benefit, I actually even just talked to somebody about that today, was the fact that you give like exercises to go do it in real life, kind of a thing. But for me, it was like you matched me where I was at. So I'm a business owner. I need to be able to make graphics for my business and kind of advertise and promote and have them be pretty and on brand, you know, and you make that like so easy to do, but that's also part of like my homework, you know? So not only am I learning something, but then at the same time, I'm already applying it to my business by like just taking the course. So that's the biggest benefit, because you could learn Adobe Illustrator from anybody, and there's so many places out there, right, that can do that. But if you can learn from someone who's doing basically the same kinds of things that you are, or being, you know, an independent business owner, kind of like I'm sure most of us are in here, it's just so different because someone's matching you where you're at. That's the biggest benefit to me. I know it's not quite like the learning part, but
I'm happy to hear that, because one of the things I wanted to focus on wasn't just how to use the program, but how to use the program for your business. So that's how this course is different from a lot of the other tutorials and stuff online that you might find on YouTube. It's not just how to create or how to use Adobe Illustrator. It's how to create Adobe or graphics using Adobe Illustrator for your business. So at the end of each module, there's a practical application like blog post graphics or inspiration boards or, you know, multi-page PDFs and things like that. So it's not just here's how to use the tools, but here's how to put them together to actually create something you're going to use regularly. So
that's definitely by far the biggest benefit.
Yeah. What did you think about, and especially because people were asking this before, since you said you can barely draw a stick figure, how, and I'm not saying that in an ugly way, but how—
It's so true.
But you create great graphics now in Illustrator, so how would you answer that question? Like, how do you feel, for those who are thinking, I have no graphic design background, I don't know how to draw, how would you answer that, those questions or those hesitations?
Well, the thing for me that made it probably the easiest was that since I can't like actually draw, I've always wanted to, by the way, like for real, like, can we just have like an actual Illustrator course? That would be awesome. But there's something really special about when you can go on the computer, because it is basically like, I want to say it almost maps it out for you, right? So like you can't necessarily go wrong because everything's like this mathematical blah, 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 which I can't do math either. But there's something really cool about it. Like my favorite part, not my favorite, gosh, I have a lot of favorite parts, okay? I'm a big advocate for this. But like one of my favorite parts of the course was where we actually used the Illustrator tool and would trace other illustrations to kind of get used to how to like use the pen tool. And figure it out, which I had never used before ever. That was brand new to me and totally scared me to death. I was like, I cannot do this. This is really hard. But by doing that practice, now I go in and I can create my own, basically without having to use, I want to say like a tracing, you know, without having to trace something different. And like, it just gave me the confidence to start using that tool. And so I can illustrate much better on the computer now than I can illustrate on paper. But it's because it kind of gives you, yeah.
I get frustrated now when I go to draw on paper because I can't hit the back button. So, yes. Or I can't, so that's what I find frustrating now, is it's so easy to draw using Illustrator and so frustrating now when I do it on paper.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that is a really good point. What were some of your, were there any surprises or things that you thought could be even improved on in the course? just to be completely honest and transparent.
I know. I'm like, that's a tough one for me. I'm an encourager. I'm always like, I can't come up with that. No, gracious. I would say, you know, I really don't have anything that could necessarily be improved upon, because there's just so much that's still in there, and it's still like a beginners but intermediate, you know, type of a course. So for me now, I would be ready for a more advanced course, like you were even just saying, because I'm like, I would love to learn how you can do some of those extra things in there. But, you know, honestly, you go in, you're able to actually use it, and a little bit more use with the pen tool would have been really helpful for me. But like at the same time, that's me needing to do it on my own, you know, and like actually get in there and kind of practice with it, besides just going through the course. So I think that if you're going to take this, you know, you really need to make sure that you're going in and doing the work, because that's the only way you're going to learn anyway. And if you don't, you're probably not going to learn a ton. So I would say make sure that you're applying, you know, what you're learning. And obviously Lauren gives you like the actual homework to kind of do that, you know, and like the practical, homework to like take it out, you know, and keep using it in real life. But no, I mean, I'm so bad at that question. I don't have anything for you to improve on. Just keep going. You're doing great, girl.
That's helpful to hear. And that's why, I mean, and something to note too, for those of you who are considering it, I add on to the course and I make changes as I go. I love getting feedback. So all of the other 4 rounds, including Brianne's round, where I've already taught the course before, I change it and tweak it each time, so that those who have taken the course before but maybe want to brush up on their skills or have access to now the bonus lesson of how to create icons and patterns, you have access to that. So you're not just purchasing it once to go through this round, you have access to all the future editions. So I'm always trying to get feedback for how I can improve it too.
Which I have gone back through, just so you guys know.
And that's the great thing about lifetime access too. And really, I want you to get the hang of it so that you can use it. I know that a lot of people, you know, create online courses now, and it's great. And I really love creating courses. But to me, it's not worth it if you can't actually use it. And that's why I love teaching this course. I think we have another question from Darby to answer. So let me read it. Do your branding clients still come to you, either of you, for social media /blog/website graphics, or do you suggest for them to learn Illustrator to use themselves? I'll start with you, Brianne.
They still come to me. Most people that I work with don't necessarily want to learn to do it themselves, but I'm also a huge advocate for learning. And that's a thing for me that, like, if you want to learn, I would encourage it, you know, for any of my clients that actually wanted to learn something and be able to do it themselves. Because I'm a DIYer, so I totally get it. But most of my clients, to be totally honest, would still rather have someone else do it.
Yeah. And actually, so I've had both. Actually, now I found that my clients want the ease of use that I have when I'm like, oh, I need a blog graphic. And so they don't want to have to come to me every time. They want to be able to have that graphic right away. And so now, and other designers might be stunned to learn this, but I give away my Adobe Illustrator files to them. So I create templates for them in Adobe Illustrator, and then I pass them off to them and show them how to use Adobe Illustrator. I just do a quick tutorial and record it for them. I've even given my clients access to this course for that reason, so they can learn how to use it and edit those templates. It just depends on your client, but that goes to show too how easy to use Illustrator is. Actually, my client, I have 2 women, Maddie and Tennille, who are from Citrus and Sugar, and I'm constantly creating templates for them. I'm doing event graphics for them now so that they can go in and edit it, and they love being able to use Adobe Illustrator for their own businesses. So for all you designers out there, it can be really helpful for templates too for your clients if they're willing to use it as well. It really does come in handy for everyone.
Yeah,
great.
That's awesome.
And feel free to ask more questions in the comments and question section too. We have a little bit more time, and that's why I did this week's Ellechat, just basically on the course. Any questions that you have, any questions about Illustrator that you have, that's what this is here for. Yeah, and so Darby said, I really enjoy making social media graphics, and I'm thinking this might be something to kickstart a business for myself. Yes. Yeah. Templates and all sorts of things. I mean, it really does come in handy for all different business types. So, yeah, great question, Darby. And she's taking part in the course too, so I'm excited that you're tuning in today. So, Brian, how do you use Illustrator for your clients now? What sorts of stuff do you create for them?
For most of my clients, because I do brand design, it is great for logo design. I saw that pop up in the chat box here. And so that's kind of the number one, and also what expedited my time the most to be able to, I want to say export it out of Illustrator is just so easy. So it's so simple to be able to make things in there. So logos and any kind of graphics that they want to use for their business. But a lot of the clients that I've had recently are, I want to say even like real estate and, you know, kind of a little bit different realm than like the creative entrepreneur world, but they need a lot of PDF forms and things that they hand to their clients, right? Like physical forms. So something that I've taken to kind of like the next step is I create the template, but because they don't want to learn Illustrator, which was a good question, yeah. I create it and then I put it into Adobe Acrobat and I make a writable PDF so that they're able to go in and then still add in, you know, their text and kind of have it to be editable, that sort of a thing. So, but I want it to be pretty, right? So I make it in Illustrator first and then, you know, kind of export it out so that I can create a writable PDF for them. But there's a lot of print work that I do. Yeah. And even signage, like it's really cool to like see your sign that you've created for a business, right? It goes up and I'm like totally created it in Illustrator.
It is. It's awesome. I love that. All right. So Kim says, we have more questions rolling in. Will we need to purchase an art pen for the course? No art pen is necessary.
Art pen?
Yeah, I think like, you know, some of you might have an iPad and a stylus or a Wacom tablet or anything like that, and that's great and a great tool. But all you need is access to Adobe Illustrator, your computer, and that's about it, right, Brian? No other tools. Yep. You can do everything else right in the program. The pen tool that we're referring to is actually the pen tool in Illustrator. And that's probably people's biggest hang up with Illustrator is learning how to use the pen tool, and that's probably what you'll find yourself practicing the most. Am I right about that, Brian?
As I like shake my head profusely, yes.
It's really, really helpful to use. It's probably what people get hung up with the most is the pen tool. Yeah, pen tool, that's what you meant. Awesome, yes. So yeah, we'll spend some time on the pen tool, definitely. So you don't, that's already included, you don't have to worry about it. I know it can be a little confusing. It is called the pen tool. I know, because I'm talking about drawing, that can, yeah, I totally get that. But great question. And then Kristen asks, I'm in the middle of 2 other courses, so timing is off. Do you have any plans to do the course more than 1 time a year? I don't. I offer this one in the spring and then Freelance Academy in the fall. Like I said, you can work through the Illustrator course at your own pace. So I set it up to where you can do it in 5 weeks if you want a little accountability and pressure to learn it quickly, or you're in need to learn it quickly. But if you want to, everything is recorded, and the lessons are actually recorded this go round too. So you don't have to. You can work through it at your own pace. You don't have to tune in live. So that is another option. But yes, good question, Kristen. Okay, awesome. If you all have any other questions, we have a little bit more time here. But yeah, when you said that you exported your files into Acrobat, that's awesome for signing too. I do that with links and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's great if you even have your own contract that you want to make beautiful, and then you can have the signature tool through Adobe Acrobat. So there's another little thing. I use a CRM, so I don't need that, but
yeah, no, that is really helpful. I have a lot of my clients just, they want everything to look pretty printed out. Maybe it's depending on their business, they want everything printed out, and so things like contracts and can make them look a lot nicer than just doing them in Word.
Yes.
So
Anything that we can make look pretty, right?
It really does make a difference. I use Illustrator for that all the time. I also have a tiny little secret too. I've shared this project on Instagram. I hope to do a blog post on it. But I did an ebook recently of over 100 pages, all in Illustrator, which a lot of people would say, you are crazy. Why didn't you do that in InDesign? And probably just because I can move really fast in Illustrator. But it was so easy to do in Adobe Illustrator. I was able to take all of the images in there. She had beautiful, it is for Robin of Real Food Whole Life. It's her eating system called Real Food Fix. But Illustrator just made it so easy to crop the images, add text, and do all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I find it really easy if you have multiple pages like that. I actually still prefer it in Illustrator. I know that that might sound a little crazy because InDesign is, you know, created for, you know, booklets and magazines, things like that. But having just the artboards, the way that they're set up in Illustrator, and like you can basically copy and paste a very basic template on all of them. So if you wanted everything to have a very cohesive look, oh my gosh, this is why it's such a time saver, because I honestly didn't even know, for a little while, didn't know you could even do that. That's something that Lauren actually followed up with me on, which was really cool because she knew that that was something I was wanting to do. And like, told me like after the course, guys, so this was like separate, like told me that that's something you could do. And I was like, yes. So I can see making an ebook or making some kind of a booklet or packet in Illustrator, like it makes it really simple. So to me, I'm like, yeah, totally.
No, and that's helpful. I mean, I'm glad that you said that, because just once the course is technically over, when there aren't any new modules being dropped, things like the follow-up webinar and the Facebook group and things like that, and you have my email address, I'm more than happy to answer questions. I've developed friendships with a lot of students in my courses, like Brienne. So I love helping you beyond just the modules. That's probably the most fun part for me, if I'm honest, because yeah, it starts relationships, which I'm a big fan of too. So I really want this to be beneficial for you. I know I say that time and time again. I'm not just saying that. I really want you to get a ton from this course. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. We have another question from Kristen, and she says, will you be covering in the course how to prep your file to send to print, for example, adding a bleed? Yes, I covered that in the last module. So that files finishing and saving, it's, yeah, she says, yippee. Yeah, once I teach you how to create all the graphics, the last module, apart from the bonus module, if you count that as the last module, is how to prep your files for print and set them all up for print. And also for web, because it does look different whether you're doing a PDF for print or business cards or something like that. And then web graphics. I'm sorry, my cat has been in my lap most of this webinar, and I'm trying to be quiet and discreet about it, but she's been really precious. I apologize for that.
So precious.
So yeah. But yes, I will cover how to handle file finishing and saving. And actually, I can go through all of that with you right now. Brian, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see.
Go for it.
And bring up that window again just to walk you through each one of the lessons really quickly, if you don't mind, Brian. So the first one is navigating the workspace. So I'm going to take you behind the screen and show you how to set up and format a new document, how, you know, Marissa asked earlier about document sizes, how you can set that up in Adobe Illustrator. I'm going to help you customize your workspace. So you can see here the different tool panels that are open. I'm going to teach you how you can customize it. Yours might look a little bit different than mine does here.
And that's a huge bonus too. Customizing it to the tools that you specifically need is like awesome, because we all have different needs.
Yeah, absolutely. You might not use well, the appearance tools or layers, so you can get rid of those. But yeah, I love that. You can see Lauren's workspace too up here. You can customize it for what tools you use often. And then at the end of it, you will create simple blog post graphics and website buttons after the very first module. Lesson 2 is creating vector graphics. So this is how you learn how to use that tricky pen tool. For those of you who want to digitize your sketches and calligraphy and hand lettering, that's covered in this module. And how to create custom social media icons at the very end of this module as well, which is kind of fun. A fun touch. It's all in the details, right, Brianne, with branding?
Yes, 100 times, yes.
And then in module 3, working with color and type. So you'll learn the character panel. You'll learn how to outline text, which is really helpful for logos and things of that nature. You can create your swatches, color libraries, so things that are specific to your brand. And then by the end of it, you'll create a custom logo and color palette. So that's at the end of module 3. Module 4, transforming objects may sound a little bit weird, but when I say transform, I mean aligning objects, distributing them around your artboard, arranging them, moving them around. So how objects are in relation to each other. You can cut objects out of each other. There's a lot of cool things that you can do. Create clipping masks. That is so helpful. Do you do that all the time, Brianne?
I use that all the time.
I do too. And I use it to clip photos a lot of the time. So if I want photos to be in a circle, I use a clipping mask for that. And so by the end of it, you can create an inspiration board. That's the takeaway assignment so that you can crop images using Adobe Illustrator. And then in module 5,
being a photographer, using the photos all the time. And you want to make like sometimes a very pretty image of it, or like when I go to post it in a blog post or something, sometimes I'll arrange the images so that I can show off, right? Like the branding photography for someone. But I use the clipping mask the whole time to do that.
Yeah, it really comes in handy. I love clipping masks. And then module 5, Kristen, you'll be happy about this, finishing and saving files. So this is how I show you how to set your files up for print and for web, create templates for your graphics, so things like blog post graphics and that sort of thing. You can set up templates so you don't have to create them from scratch every time. And then by the end, you'll create and save a PDF workbook and promotional graphics. So you can see how those takeaways are specific for your creative business. And then bonus, I'm going to show you how to design icons and patterns as well. I kept getting that request from past attendees, so I added that one on here. So you'll be able to create patterns and icons by the end of this course too. So that's a little outline.
That's awesome. I love that bonus.
I'm so glad you like it. Have you seen that one on there, or is that new to you too?
No, that one's new to me, so I'm going to be checking it out too.
Awesome. No, it's one of my favorites. I was glad that people asked last time because I use those often.
That's a great refresher too for me.
Yeah, I had a lot of previous students email me this go around and say, I thought I remembered you saying that we have access to all the new modules. And I said, you do, and I'm going to add you to the new Teachable page. And a lot of them were saying, yay, I need a refresher. Or life got crazy when I purchased the course, and I want to go back and take it again. And so I hope that's an encouragement for those of you who are thinking about purchasing the course and using Adobe Illustrator, that you can work through it and refer back to those modules time and time again.
Yeah,
if we don't have any other questions, we're coming up on the hour. Thank you, Brianne, so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to sing your praises, but also it really is so helpful, and it changed my life. So for me, this is like awesome.
You are fine, and I'm thrilled to hear that. That's like the success story I dreamed about when I started this course. So it's really helpful. But thank you guys for tuning in today. Also, just a little treat for those of you who did tune in live today. I extended the Launch Day 15 bonus or promo code. So I'm going to put that in the comment section. So if you missed out on the 15% off bonus at the beginning of the launch and you're interested in purchasing the course, I want you to have access to that too. So if you use Launch Day 15 at checkout, I'm going to give you 15% off of the course price for both the single payment option and for the full or the 3-month payment plan option as well. Maggie says, can't wait to start. Can we start today? I totally wish we could. I'm really excited to dive in. It'll be worth the wait. I hope it'll be worth the wait. And a link to the enrollment, yes, Juliet, let me grab that for you here. Sorry, I'll drop that in the comments or the question section, comment section. That's it. And if you have any other questions between now and then, feel free to shoot me an email at hello@ellencompanydesign.com, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you all for taking the time to tune in today and asking great questions. And thank you again, Brian. I'm so glad that you were able to join me today as well.
Thank you. I'm excited I got to be here today.
And I hope to see you all in the course soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.